Hello everybody, welcome to the channel, hope you're doing well. This is the strategy behind the smiley face swag that you see often on my thumbnails. So it is a surgical ice golem strategy, and it is going to be an AQ charge after we use the warden to do an initial funnel, because at Tunnel 17 there's so many multi-targeting defenses they can pick off your AQ and your healers, and you need to create some pathing for an AQ charge at Tunnel 17, especially in Legend League. When you're in war, you have more freedom to pick bases, and you can choose which bases are best for AQ charge. So this is the easiest version of the strategy in Legend League because it is the least base specific, because we can use the fireball to create a nice big section to get our AQ charge going. This attack is going to be absolutely atrocious. I'm going to fail on the fireball because a lot of times with this strategy you just want to see how much you can get away with as far as swagging spells. So I'm letting the warden get bombarded, didn't want to invest a spell. Warden goes down. Fortunately my healers stay, so now it's time to try to salvage this attack just to show how powerful the strategy is without a warden behind the AQ. And warden behind the AQ is, in my opinion, the strongest pairing of hero equipments in the game, because you get unlimited rage. The rage helps power your AQ to do more damage, helps power your healers to do more healing, and it's just absolutely astounding what you can accomplish with this hero equipment combo. And I will be making a detailed video about all the different combinations that you can do with this strategy. Sometimes you can use a giant arrow, sometimes you can use a fireball, sometimes you can use both, sometimes you can use super minions, you can use blizzard, you can even use skeleton donut, because this strategy is all about saving spells, conserving spell space. So with the leftover spell space, we can do just an absolutely insane amount of classic tricks in the game. And as I said before, this fireball version of the strategy is the easiest because it is the least base specific. So if you're interested in learning, just opening up and unlocking basically everything in the game, this is the strategy to learn. So what we're doing, we're using an AQ charge powered by a warden, although our warden is dead, and this is going to show just how strong this strategy is, because the warden died right off the bat. So now we just have the AQ, got a bunch of leftover spells. We're going to do a parallel RC walk next to the AQ so the AQ can help distract a little bit. RC comes in, we have an ice golem coming in. Ice golems are just to distract these defenses so that our hero equipment and our hero power can really shine. Ice golems do no damage, they just tank and stall defenses so that our heroes can go up to them and get as much value as possible. So we're all about unlocking as much hero equipment, damage, and potential that we can in a single strat. We have the rocket loons to funnel, yetis to funnel, wizards to help the yetis funnel, and yeah. So kind of a bad start, but we are coming in with the second one. And with this one, we have the multi-gear tower right next to the clan castle. So we want to get the warden fireball into that multi-gear tower so that we can eliminate the clan castle, because a lot of times when you're doing a warden charge, especially if you're going to meet the warden back up with the AQ, as the warden comes out of the base, the fire mites from the furnaces target the healers and will kill all your healers and end your raid in a hurry. So we are using the rocket loons to create pathing for the flame flinger. This strategy, if you can get very good flame flinger value, you're pretty much guaranteed to triple a base. So that's what the rocket loons are for. 2 rocket loons usually per defense, unless it's a wizard tower. Wizard towers take 3 rocket loons unless they're not guarded by any air targeting defenses. So a lot of times with wizard towers, I like to drop a yeti followed by 1 wizard. The yeti and the wizard power through the wizard tower, and then you can use the yeti mites to spring forward and take out another defense. So I was able to get the fireball off rather quickly, got everything down that I wanted. Unlike the last time, although you see these fire mites still came out of the clan castle. So waiting for these fire mites to go down. Furnace is dead, no more fire mites. However, they still targeted the warden, still picked off the healers, still got the warden dead. So now this is why I like to run the unicorn, just in case that happens. Now I have the AQ coming in with the BK, and once again we have to salvage this attack. Do not do Legend League hits. after a 10-mile bike ride. It sucks. So anyways, coming in with the BK, and we're going to get the BK, try to get him as close to the next wall compartment as possible to use his EQ boots to open up access into the core for the AQ. So now we have the BK and the AQ in the core. They are tanking defenses. Notice how they're tanking this Expo. So now, while they're tanking some core defenses, send an Ice Golem in on the outside to tank some outside defenses, and then we send RC in on the outside on the flank of the AQ to keep the AQ targeted towards the inside of the base. The RC is supposed to do a parallel spirit walk while the AQ is doing her charge on the inside. In this way, they work together in tandem. They help distract defenses for each other. This is the best way to synergize them. And you'll notice this Ice Golem up at the top, stuck on that Wizard Tower. A lot of times that's what the Wizards are for, because the Ice Golems do no damage. And you want to get the Ice Golems as close to these damaging defenses as possible, like the Ricochet Cannon. So if you drop an Ice Golem on a Wizard Tower, it's not going to do anything. It's going to stay there the entire raid. So then you drop a Wizard in behind it, or a Rocket Loon, or if you have a Yeti left over and you don't have to set a big funnel, you can just set the Yeti on it with a Wizard behind. Same basic strategy. Alright, so this is a very common base. And on this base, you want to check where the Flame Flingers are, because you always want to come in from behind the Flame Flingers. However, on this base, it's pretty hard to come in from behind the Flame Flingers unless you do a very nice fireball. So, target for this fireball is going to be the new defense right below the clan castle. Sending in the Warden, dead center, bottom right. We got the Angry Jelly on the Warden to eliminate as many defenses between the Warden and the new defense that we're targeting with the fireball, the Crusher Mortar. This way I can invest as few invisibility spells as possible. So I'm trying to get as many defenses between the Warden and the fireball target eliminated as possible. And with the Angry Jelly, a lot of times you want to wait until the Angry Jelly ability is inactive. That way your Warden will start targeting some of these outside trash buildings or these storages, and that will make it so that the Warden does not surge into the core of the base when you make the surrounding defenses invisible. Because the last thing you want to do is make a whole bunch of defenses invisible while the Angry Jelly effect is active, and then that would force the Warden to target a defense in the core. He would push into the core, he would encounter too many defenses at the same time, and he would die immediately, or almost immediately. So, Warden's targeting this storage. Gonna go ahead and get the fireball off. So fireball lands where we want it to go. Eliminate that entire core. We've gotten rid of both fire spitters, and now we can add in the AQ. AQ is now powered by the Warden, and AQ is the strongest hero charge. It is easily the strongest hero charge in the game, RC being right behind it. But where the AQ charge and why nobody is using AQ charge is that you have to prime a base to get it ready for the AQ, because the AQ does not jump over the walls like the Warden or the RC. So we have to make pathing for our AQ charge. So notice there's no defenses that can pick off the healers, no defenses out of reach. We can just open up these walls, and we have an AQ with Warden Rage Gem, keeping her alive and strong. So now on this other side, I'm going to send in the Siege Barracks. And we're sending in the Siege Barracks to conserve time. The strategy can be a little bit time costly. And we're going to use the Siege Barracks to try to stall up some defenses for our RC so that she can take out the top right side. Notice the BK. We want the BK to work up and open up the walls for our AQ. However, I believe he's going to walk too far away from the AQ. AQ is going to be stuck beating on a wall. So now I got the RC approaching the Scattershot, approaching this Multi-Inferno. Spear Fox still somehow alive. AQ towards ability. Just dropping in, sprinkling in these Ice Golems. And you really want your Spirit Fox alive so that if an Expo or Ricochet Cannon is targeting your RC, that when your RC goes invisible, they will retarget an Ice Golem that you drop on the outside. So a lot of times I like to use 1 or 2 Ice Golems for the initial AQ Warden push, and then save 3 Ice Golems typically for the outside surrounding defenses, specifically Ricochet Cannons and enemy heroes. So notice where the hook is. These hook bases are a pain. However, you can actually, when you meet up your BK with your AQ and Warden, get the BK to push into a compartment that allows the hook to reach him, get the BK hooked, then pop his EQ boots and his spiky ball ability and just absolutely wreck the core. So we're going to start this warden charge. We're going to stay away from that hook. And these bases are the worst to do a warden charge on, not only because of the hook, but because of the rage tower compartments. Very high damage per second compartments, especially when the rage gets triggered, and you have to be really careful. Fortunately, a lot of times with the strategy, I like to let my warden die because I'm always trying to swag spells. Because that's kind of the purpose of the strategy. You want to see how much you can get away with, so that when you're doing a war attack, you can customize it to the base and do either Sneaky Gobs, Skeleton Donut, or Blizzard, or pretty much anything that you want. So yeah, the strategy is a lot of fun. I would call it the endgame strategy because it's trying to see how much you can get away with. And it is, I don't know, it's a lot of focus, but it's really not that bad. So I'm going to get this Warden Fireball off, managed to hit right where we want it to go. So we got the clan castle down, hook down. Now we're going to send this AQ in to eliminate this town hall right away and try to come in from behind the remaining fire spitter. You never want to go into a fire spitter because fire spitters will shoot past your AQ and kill your healers. Notice the other downside to a hero charge is that the AQ has a much shorter reach than the warden. So the AQ has to step in closer to hit her targets. Therefore she brings the healers in closer behind her, makes them more accessible to a fire spitter, makes them more prone to getting roasted. So always come in from behind a fire spitter. I always try, if possible, take out a fire spitter with the flame flinger, and nearly every raid I'm trying to take out one fire spitter with the warden fireball. And then after the fireball eliminates one fire spitter, you come in with the AQ. AQ steals the warden and the healers, and the AQ wraps around the base to the opposite side, coming in behind the remaining fire spitter with the support of the warden rage gem. So right here we have the RC. Once again, RC was on the outside to make sure that our AQ stayed on the inside so that the AQ could help tank some of these inside defenses. See how the Giant is stalling up that Expo. Giant stalling up this Monolith right now, dropping in the Skeleton spell for the Monolith multi-gear tower. A freeze just for some extra. Just 2 spells left over. But that's the crazy thing about the strat. Sometimes you go through all the spells, and sometimes you can swag up to as many as 11. Alright, so immediately checking the fire spitters. Trying to figure out where the flame flinger would get the most value. It looks like top left and top right, or towards the bottom, would be nice spots for where the flame flinger could go. However, notice these expos right on the very outside edge. You can direct target them with 4 rocket loons, remove the expo, and then you free up just a ton of value for the flame flinger. So direct targeting this expo. Also, if you can't direct target it, you can drop an invisibility spell on a different defense and then direct target it. That's a little trick that I'll be showing you in the full video that goes over just how many different variations to the strategy there are. So notice up to the top right, have the Yeti with the wizard behind, doing that little trick for funneling. So the Yeti and the wizard work through that wizard tower, and now the Yeti mites will spring forward and eliminate that air defense. So 2 defenses for 22 housing space when it would have taken 24 housing space with 3 rocket loons. So Warden sending in a headhunter to deal with this BK. We want to be careful not to send in too many headhunters, because if the headhunters kill this BK and push forward, they can trigger the clan castle. So get the fireball where we want it to go. New defense, eliminate the clan castle, eliminate both fire spitters, and if you eliminate both fire spitters in the clan castle, it's pretty much game over. Now all we have to do is drop in our AQ. Dropping in our BK, we want our BK to meet up with the AQ and push into this compartment. However, I believe this BK, yeah, he goes for a walk. So we're just going to have to let the AQ beat through a wall. This would have been much better if the AQ and the BK and the Warden all pushed into this compartment together, so that the BK could have reached that multi-archer tower, used the EQ boots, and opened up the entire what's left of the core. Let's now use the EQ boots. Gonna have to use the RC someplace. We're just trying to figure out how much time we got left. If we got tons of time, we send the RC in on the flank to the side of the AQ. And if we don't have much time, sometimes we have to send the RC in by herself on the opposite side. Much better to send the RC in alongside the AQ, because a lot of times the RC will be so close to the AQ that you'll benefit from the Warden Rage, and the synergy is just unbeatable. That is when you get to swag the most spells. If you have to send the RC on the opposite side, like what I'm doing right now, a lot of times you have to invest spells to keep the RC alive because she's not benefiting from the Giant or the AQ tanking under Warden Rage Gem with the healers. So AQ beats through the wall, RC comes through, Ice Golems on the side, stall up some stuff, and you can see I'm low on time. That's why I had to send the RC on the left. So yeah. So next base. Checking where the clan castle is, checking just how close my warden can get before it lures the clan castle, checking where the fire spitters are. Fire spitters are both next to the clan castle, so might be able to get the clan castle and a fire spitter. Now checking for flame flinger value. So deciding to drop the flame flinger down here at the bottom, which means I'm going to have to keep an eye on these mortars, because the mortars outrange the flame flinger. So sending in the warden up top, warden right in the middle. Base is symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which fire spitter I target to try to eliminate that clan castle. Either one will work. So dropping in some Yetis to tank for those mortars, and hopefully when the Yeti gets killed, the Yeti mites will spring forward and eliminate at least one of those mortars, and then maybe I can drop another Yeti in to do the same thing, or drop in some rocket loons. So the Yeti's still doing okay, dropping in a second Yeti, dropping in some rocket loons to direct target them, get them out of the road, so that the flame flinger can get 2 more buildings at least. So notice Angry Jelly's dead. That's actually really good. Now the warden won't surge into the base, and now I'm just trying to decide which side would be better. And I got tons of time right now because there's so many storages around, and this is why you don't want to put some archers or wizards in behind your warden right away. You want to keep those buildings up so that they stall up your warden, so you have decision-making time. And I'm just trying to conserve as many spell space as possible. So I finally go ahead, invest the spells, take out the clan castle, take out the one fire spitter. So now since the fire spitter on the right is gone, I want to come in from the left and eliminate the last standing fire spitter. Dropping in a nice golem here down at the corner just to help stall up this arch tower, because I want to create a nice huge funnel into this compartment, because I really want my BK to push into this compartment with the AQ. So the BK can benefit from the Warden Rage Gem as well as get out in front of the AQ and help tank for her. And then this is almost three levels of protection, because we have the BK out in front. So BK is tanking for the AQ. Then when the BK dies, AQ will use her ability. We'll have the Giant come out and protect. And sometimes when you don't have to use the Warden Fireball to create pathing on certain bases, especially if you get to handpick them at war, you can actually have an additional layer of protection, which is the Warden Eternal Tome. And with that combination of equipments and base identification, you can actually swag every single spell that you have, all 14 spell space. And you should just take a look at the thumbnails on my channel. Look for the Smiley Space Swags, the Smiley Spell Swags. Those are base identification along with the strongest hero equipment pairings in the game, Surgical Ice Golems. It's this strat without the Fireball. But this strategy with the Fireball, you can swag up to 11, 12 spells. It's just you have to use the EQs. So that's 2 spell space you can't swag by using the strat. So we have fire spitters right next to the clan castle. So want to get those down, because we want to eliminate at least one fire spitter so that when we do our AQ charge, we do not have to go directly into a fire spitter. But if you can eliminate both, even better. So setting down that flame flinger at 9 o'clock, which means I need to have the warden step up and tank that expo that's also close to 9 o'clock, because we do not want that expo getting free range at the Flame Flinger. Dropping in some Rocket Loons because I want my AQ to go in from 6 eventually. Dropping in that Yeti with the Wizard, trying to conserve some Rocket Loons, conserve some spell space. It's much more economical to use a Yeti with a Wizard than 3 Rocket Loons. So dropping in a Rage, and a lot of times you can use the Rage to tell the timing because you have only so many seconds. I believe it's 35 seconds with this Angry Jelly. So you can use the Rage to get more defenses removed between your target and the Warden as possible. So use the Rage. Rage was a nice investment because I only had to use 2 invisibility spells. Warden got his job done, and he also killed that Expo so that the Flame Flinger didn't have to worry about it. Now I can drop in the AQ. AQ pulls the Warden, sending in an Ice Golem. Ice Golem stalls up enemy hero. AQ kills the hero. We have a Tornado Trap. It's going to make it a pain for these Wall Breaker. Hope he hits. Does not hit, sending in another Wall Breaker. And we want to get the Wall Breaker in so that the BK can step into that compartment and hopefully get as close to the Town Hall compartment as he can to open up so many buildings, or to open up so many walls for the AQ. We want as much free access for the AQ to do her AQ charge in the core as possible. So, dropping in some Ice Golems and the RC to cut off the AQ pathing, to force the AQ in towards the core, because the AQ needs to take out this Town Hall. If we wouldn't have dropped the RC there to path the AQ in, she would have wrapped around. The Giga Poison or Inferno Artillery would have eliminated those healers. So now going ahead, using the RC ability, outranging that Scatter Shot, and the great thing about the Rocket Spear on the RC, as well as outranging some defenses, is it's essentially a break. Sometimes your RC pushes in front of your AQ, pushes in front of the AQ tanking, and by using the Rocket Spear, it stops her in place so your AQ can work up next to her so that they can start tanking again for each other. Notice the BK is still alive, so we have all this hero tanking. We have 8 spells left over, so yeah, absolutely fun strat. And the best part about learning the strat is it opens up possibilities for all of the classic tricks in the game. Because if you can conserve all these spells, you can also invest those spells in other ways, and basically learning this one strat will make you just the best player in Clash that you can be. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's a little bit intensive, but I would say there's no strategy in the game right now that really keeps you glued to the screen as much as this one does. Alright, so Warden comes in, and notice all these buildings right around the Town Hall. We want to eliminate these Fire Spitters next to the Town Hall. We also want to get out this Clan Castle. And these buildings, or these base layouts, are absolutely perfect for fireballs. So we're sending some archers just to the right of the Warden because we want the AQ to pull the Warden down to the left by 6 and then go in next to this invisibility compartment. And notice how I didn't have to invest many spells with this Warden charge, however, had to drop in an invisibility spell as the Warden got pulled by this unlucky Tornado Trap. So now the Warden is a little bit too close into the center of the base because of that Tornado Trap. So I'm going to let the Warden try to pull the Warden back with the AQ, which it looks like the Warden will come back with the AQ. So now the AQ charge will be able to benefit from the Warden. And now we're going to do this little trick. Drop an invisibility spell, followed by a skeleton spell to trigger that invisibility spell tower. So now we're just dropping in this Ice Golem, get out in front of the BK. We got the Siege Barracks, got the P.E.K.K.A.s, sending in another Ice Golem, because the thing about Siege Barracks is that when you have 2 P.E.K.K.A.s in front of a Ricochet Cannon, the Ricochet Cannon will just absolutely destroy both of them, and you're basically sacrificing your Ricochet Cannon. So to me, it was more beneficial to drop in these Ice Golems, even though they're getting sprung left and right and getting eliminated, because I want the BK to work as deep into this compartment as possible so that he can open up pathing to the core to give access to the AQ, to the Town Hall. And you'll see just one tiny little wall section was eliminated that gives the AQ access. So now once again, we're cutting off the AQ pathing with the RC. RC is going to make it so that the AQ has to path into the core, and that's the beauty of the strat. You keep the AQ in the core underneath the Warden Rage Gem with the healers to tank for the RC, and then you drop the Ice Golems in on the outside to help stall up defenses for the RC. So it's a Warden charge, Fireball, to create pathing for an AQ charge, and then it's an AQ charge with a parallel Spirit Walk. And now we use the AQ ability, and this new Giant paired with the Magic Mirror equipment combo is just absolutely insanely powerful. It's almost the second BK, and the base is done with. And this was far from clean. These are the base types that you can actually swag 11 spells with the strategy, with the Warden Fireball strategy. And I'll be showing you those upcoming in another video. So 320, some really terrible attacks in the beginning, but managed to salvage. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll be bringing you more shortly. Have a great day.